Hi everyone, my name's PK, and here I have Eric Le Tran. I have to get into that name as well and like where the background of that name came from. But he's just bought two properties, a client of the Property Investment Accelerator, and he's a digital marketer, works in Sydney. He's bought Interstate. And in this episode, we're going to be going through like he actually used buyer's agents. So like his experience with buyer's agents, why he's decided to pivot and do this himself now. He's bought, like I said, two properties and trusts for himself, by himself. And we're going through like how he's valuing properties, how he's beating other buyers agents now for this property that he bought without overpaying. We'll go through how he bought interstate, just kind of littering this episode with so much advice throughout the process of buying. I genuinely think you guys will get a bunch of value, especially if you've used buyers agents before. And so how you can make that jump with confidence to do it yourself. So thank you so much, Eric, and I really appreciate you volunteering to do this.
No worries. Thanks, PK. Good to be here.
And so like, what are you like French? Like, where's that name come from? Eric Le Tran.
I'm actually Vietnamese, but yeah, it's actually both my parents' names kind of put together.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. It's very unique. So just take me through a little bit of your property background. Yeah, like where did this all start? And how did you get to where you are at the moment?
Oh, geez. I've been investing in property for about 8 years now. And it all started when I was like, a graduate working, in the corporate world. And during that time, like I just talked to like some people in the kitchen who I became friends with on the floor. And there was one guy where on a Monday morning, you know, we're just small talk. What'd you get up to on the weekend? And he said he'd been inspecting houses. And he showed me the houses he was inspecting, and I was just like, well, they were beautiful houses, by the way. And I just made a joke, and I said, wow, I should have become a lawyer because he worked in the legal department, just as a joke. And then he stopped me right there and he said, no, no, Eric, this has got nothing to do with my salary as a lawyer. The only reason I'm in this position now to be able to afford these types of houses is because I've been investing in property for a very long time. And yeah, and I just said, teach me. And from there on, he's become my mentor and a very good friend. And yeah, and from there, I was just like, yeah, teach me everything. I read books, I went to seminars, and then yeah, eventually started buying property for myself. So yeah, we bought our first property, I think, in 2015, and then since then, we've been able to grow our portfolio to what it is today.
Amazing. It's funny how like just a small little moment like that can trigger it because obviously like people watch YouTube and stuff and they see
Yeah.
all these ads on Facebook or
Yeah.
whatever and it's like seems like trashy advertising. But when you actually know
Yeah.
someone who's like physically done it in front of you and you trust them, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, there's something in this, you know.
Yeah, and back then there wasn't YouTube and podcasts and everything like that. So the only people you could get content from was going to a seminar where someone is going to sell you an off the plan apartment at the end of it. So
Yeah.
he was one guy that I trusted, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, cool. All right. So you bought that in 2015. So was that an investment property that you bought in 15?
Yeah, yeah. I've only ever bought investment properties, so yeah, that first one was an investment.
Right, right. And maybe let's just touch on that. So like why you bought multiple investment properties now, like why have you not bought your principal place of residence? Sorry if it's as a personal question, I'm just
No,
curious.
no, no, it's all good. Yeah, so one of the things that my mentor had taught me was the concept of rent vesting.
Hmm.
Um, the suburbs that my wife and I wanted to live in Sydney were very expensive. And at the time, our salaries just couldn't afford to buy those types of properties in the types of suburbs that we wanted to live in. But we did have affordability for investment properties. So we decided to do that. And then we decided to live in the suburbs that we decided to rent in the suburbs that we want to live in. And that just became like the strategy for us, where we would just accumulate our portfolio. And then once we've done accumulating, the plan is to buy our principal place of residence after that.
Right, right. Okay, awesome. That was you were doing rent vesting before it was like a thing, so to speak.
Yeah, we're still doing it now as well. And I think it has its pros and cons, but for us, we've been lucky in that we've been able to, like back then we were just married, it was just two of us, but now have kids, and we've been able to kind of just end the lease and then move into something bigger and do that as we go, as opposed to buying a house and being kind of locked into that house,
Yeah.
with the mortgage and everything like that.
Yeah. The flexibility is like it's both the pro and con, I guess. It's
Yeah,
how you perceive it. But yeah, if you're having more kids, you just upgrade it. There's no stamp duty or anything. It's very
yeah, yeah, and it's also cheaper cash flow wise as well to rent first.
yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so what was your next property purchase after that 2015 one?
Yeah, the next one was our first purchase in Brisbane. So
Okay.
we bought in the suburb of Redcliffe, and that one we used a buyer's agent. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they
And
advised that that was a good suburb to live in, to invest in.
in
Yeah,
Redcliffe, what year was that?
2016, I think. Yeah, the
Okay.
end of 2016. Yeah.
All right. So do you and I have nothing against this buyer's agent, but do you think it was a good investment, or in hindsight would you have bought maybe in a different location in 2016?
To be honest, I thought it was a really good purchase, and we bought it for about 402,000. And that property has been one of our highest performing in our portfolio, where we've been able to extract equity maybe about 3 times to buy 3 extra properties on the back of that. So today
Mm.
it's worth about 760.
Yeah,
So in the space of like 5 or 6 years, yeah, it's grown by that much, and yeah, it's just been one that just every 2 years we're able to pull out 100 or
brilliant.
150K equity to buy more.
Brilliant. That's good to hear. That's genuinely good to hear. Brisbane has been like a sleepy giant until about
Mm.
2019, 20, and then it just like paid all the dividends, for anyone who was patient. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm
uh,
glad I got in. I'm glad I got into Brisbane at that time
yeah,
as well. I
100%,
wish I
100.
got in earlier, but yeah, I wish I bought my first one in Brisbane. To be honest, yeah, but I bought in uh, Western Sydney. Yeah, which
Okay.
is
In
big.
2015, that's not such a bad idea though, because like back in 2015, you probably still rode another couple of years of that Sydney boom in Western Sydney.
Yes, yes, but the big mistake we made and the biggest learning that has come out of that was we bought an apartment.
Oh, okay.
And,
Right.
and yeah, we really wanted to buy a house in the suburb of Blacktown. And at the time, all the data was pointing towards Blacktown.
Mm-hmm.
But and we were inspecting properties every week for about, I don't know, 6 months, and we knew the Blacktown market quite well. But by the time we got our finances ready, we were priced out. So then it was just like, okay, well, we're priced out of houses, but we can afford an apartment. We got in, but
Mm.
then after that, there's been a lot of development in Blacktown with apartments, and the increase in supply has kept the value of our Blacktown property quite low. So
Right.
that's our biggest
Right.
learning from there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry to hear that, but of course that's a great learning
Yeah.
for everyone. Like apartments, they can sometimes work, but it's like less than 1% of the time they're actually
Yeah.
worthwhile investments. So are you going to
Yeah.
sell that one at some point, or is it
I
like,
think I'm going to sell it soon. Yeah, because I contemplated selling it this year, but I've decided to hold on to it for a little longer because one, I'm not buying for the time being,
yeah,
and there's still a bit of potential for the market to pick up a little bit in the next 12 months. And I've always said that if that property ever becomes a blocker for me building my portfolio, then I'll get rid of it. So that may happen in the next year or two.
yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. Don't just like make a rash decision and sell it. It's like only when you need those funds and need to reallocate those resources, that's when you sell it. No,
Exactly.
good
Yeah.
stuff. And so the Redcliffe one, what did you do next?
So after that, my wife and I, we just went traveling.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, spent a year traveling, so we didn't focus on property at all. And then when we got back from travels, the portfolio had grown by, I think, maybe about 200K just on the back of that Redcliffe property
Hmm.
and a little bit of equity in Blacktown. So yeah, we pulled the equity out in 2020 just before COVID hit,
Okay.
and we used that equity to buy 2 more properties in Brisbane.
Right, right. And those two were bought like in that 2020 period or 2021 period?
We bought two properties in 2020 during COVID when everyone was saying don't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how did you do that? Like, why did you not listen to everyone?
I just knew that I just didn't believe what the media was saying. They were saying that, it's going to crash, people aren't earning income and they're going to have to fire sell their properties. And I was just like, let it happen. If they fire sell their properties, I'll buy it. But either way, I just felt that property was a safe end game. And
Yeah.
regardless, it's a case of, property prices go up, down, and, sometimes they remain flat. And I just felt that that was a good time to get in, especially when everyone was so fearful.
Hmm.
And the other thing was my wife was pregnant at the time with our first child. So I just thought, no, we're buying these properties now.
Well, we've got
I
serviceability
don't, I don't,
going for it.
I don't care. Like, I don't care what anyone says. We're getting these properties now, and when baby arrives, we'll take a break.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's amazing. I love to hear the mindset because yeah, people the world was literally in crisis mode at that time. But anyone who bought properties in 2020, like people say, oh, you got lucky because all the fiscal stimulus. I mean, luck is always there, but you made your own luck. You actually, you hit the gas. Like you actually did something. You weren't just a sideline commentator. So yeah, you deserve all that equity. So obviously they probably both up 50%, 60%, something like that.
Those two properties I bought that year, yeah, the second one I bought for 480. That has grown quite well. I think that's worth about 800 now.
Right.
Yeah, 800 or 820. So that's done really well. I've been able to pull equity out of that a couple of times and buy a few more. And then the property number four, that one we bought for 365.
Hmm.
And that's worth about, it went as high as 600.
Yeah.
And because Brisbane's going through a bit of a correction now, it's kind of come back to about 570, 580.
Right. Which suburbs are those in, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, number three was in Margate,
Yep.
so just next to Redcliffe.
Yep.
And then number four was in Regent's Park in Brisbane. Yeah.
Yeah. More on the south side. Okay. And so like, why did you, sorry, this is not scripted. I just like
Yeah.
curious, like, why did you buy so close to Redcliffe? Because you already had one there, like from a diversification perspective, did you think about buying further out or somewhere else, or were you just so convinced on that location?
I felt it was still a good area and it was still a little bit undervalued. And I liked the idea of buying in beachside suburbs as well. So there were other options as well, like I think Petrie, Kalanga, Strathpine,
Right.
that I'd considered. But for some reason, I just really liked the idea of buying close to the beach.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, and I think it's performed pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we were buying around that time in some of those areas, like you mentioned,
Okay.
Strathmine,
Yeah.
etc. But they've all they've all done really well, nonetheless. And
Yeah.
okay, so you got these additional two, so you've now got four properties under your belt. What happened next?
Yeah, after that, what happened? I think we took a year off because we had our first child, so all the focus was on that. And then after a year, or almost a year, my wife went back to work, and serviceability comes back. So straight away, I called my mortgage broker and I said, "All right, what can we do? Can we go again?" And he's like, "All right, let's do it." So,
Yeah,
and at that point, what was it? 2022. So we'd already had that post-COVID boom where everyone was just kind of rushing back into the market and
yeah,
fighting for property in Brisbane and I guess across Australia as well. So our portfolio had just grown massively as well. So I think we were able to pull out maybe about 200K of equity
hmm,
thereabouts. And what do we do? We decided to go again, and that's when yeah, we basically, I was contemplating, this is where I started to think about Perth. And I was kind of contemplating whether I should do it myself or go with a buyer's agent again.
hmm.
And yeah, and I'd also come across your content as well in about 2020, and I'd been watching your stuff throughout 2021, and I was like, just a bit on the fence, should I do PK's course and do it myself? But um, I didn't trust myself actually. I didn't think I was ready. So then I went with a buyer's agent. So this time I'd chosen a different buyer's agent who I'd been following for quite some time, who had a really good reputation. I thought, yeah, he's the one. He's going to help me. Like, I didn't trust myself, and I was like, I'll trust him. He's going to do it for me. And then after that, I'll do it myself. I'll learn how to do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how was that experience then?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, the end outcome was we did find a good property in a good suburb, but it wasn't exactly what I expected and what I was used to in a buyer's agent experience. It was just very quick, and it was almost like, don't call me, I'll call you. And one day I get a call, and it's basically, yeah, I found the property. This is it. This is why you should buy it. And yeah, here's the paperwork. So I just thought, okay,
I
well,
hear.
if that's how it is, then yeah, all right, I trust you. And yeah, I signed it, and we bought in that area, yeah, that he's suggested. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Um, and so do you mind sharing what area that was and when you bought that?
Yeah, that was in Alexandra Hills in Brisbane
Brisbane
again.
again?
Yeah. So and again, like at that time, Perth was on my radar, and I was thinking, oh, should we go to Perth? Like, I'm hearing a lot of data pointing towards Perth, and I hear it's starting to heat up. But he had said, no, I think Brisbane's still good, and Perth maybe next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, so again, I trusted him. We went with Brisbane Alexandra Hills. Um, in hindsight, I probably should have trusted my own gut and went with Perth, because that place we bought in Alexandra Hills it hasn't really grown in value. We bought it for 680 at the beginning of 2020, and to this day, it's still worth about 680 because Brisbane had already peaked so much, and then
2022 you bought that, right?
yeah, and then interest rates started to go skyrocket, and then yeah, like all the heat in the Brisbane market that just kind of came
Yeah.
out, and then my property just like flatlined until now. I mean, I think it's starting to grow now, but and I think it'll still do well in the long term. But yeah, I do have a few regrets about buying that one, because had I trusted my gut and bought in Perth at that time, I'd probably have an extra 100 grand in equity that I could use to buy another property. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, big learning. And after doing your course, I actually went back and looked at the data for that suburb and realized that if I'd applied what I learned from your course, I would have ruled that suburb out at the time that we were buying it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some buyers agents are good, some are not so good. So I think, you've had a variety of experience. I just want to pick up on something that you mentioned before using this last buyer's agent. You said you didn't trust yourself. And I hear this a lot from people who have never used buyer's agents, some people who have used buyer's agents. When it comes to doing it themselves, DIY, they're like, oh, I don't really want to use a buyer's agent, but I don't trust myself, or I don't even know who a buyer's agent is, but I need help because I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
like, what do you mean by that? Just to kind of unpack it, what part of the property buying process did you not trust yourself with, or like what specifically was it?
I think the biggest one was choosing the right market to get into. And because I felt that our property portfolio was at a very pivotal point where, like, we were on 4 properties at the time, and I was saying to my wife, like, I really want this next one to be like, like a game changer, that where we
Go
just
into like fourth gear or fifth gear
yeah,
now.
yeah, like really wanted to shift the gears and go to another level. And I just thought, geez, like, am I really going to be able to find that type of property myself? Like, but by doing like PK's course, or is it going to take time for me to really hit my straps and get there. And I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I'll just hire who I felt was, you know, the best at the time to get me there. So that's why I just thought, okay, I'm good. You know, this one is a pivotal property in our portfolio. I'm going to hire someone else. So that's why I did it.
Yeah. And of course, we don't live with regrets in life and everything is a learning. But honest question, you can say no. But like, do you feel that if you had trusted yourself just a bit more at that time and let's say did the course, that you would be in a different scenario fast forward another 1 or 2 years?
I do, yeah, because like straight up, if I had trusted myself, I would have had the data to back up my hunch that Perth was the place to go with. And had I bought myself something there, even if it was an average property and not a slam dunk, I'd still have more equity than I do now. And
Mhm.
I'd probably have another property in my portfolio right now.
Yeah, and probably it would be much higher yield as well because Alexander Hills at that point in the cycle was probably yielding, I don't know, 4% or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it's around 4% or maybe low fives, but because interest rates were so low and we got a fixed rate, you know, we still get positive cash flow. So,
Right.
you know, it's good, happy days, you know, but a lot of properties back in at that time with those interest rates were heavily positive cash flow. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Awesome. Okay, so and then you bought these like next two properties, obviously using the course.
Yeah.
What was that process like? Like, did you find that, oh man, like I used buyer's agents, that was a breeze, and now I have to do all the work and it's like it's stressful, it's hard, or like what was your like tell me honestly, was it how did you find it? How was that process of just doing it yourself?
Firstly, when I did your course and I'd taken in the content and learned how to research, you know, the markets and yeah, the ins and outs, like my mind was blown, and I just felt really empowered and really excited to get into it. You know, I've got to take time out of work to call up agents and you know negotiate deals or even research to find deals in the markets that I wanted to buy in. And to make things a little bit harder, I think listings were lower as well at the time because interest rates were going up. So, yeah, look, I mean, um, I still felt really great that I was able to do the course and learn a lot more, but you definitely do need to put in the work to find those properties for yourself. But I'm really glad I did it.
Awesome, awesome. And so like, you know, you were sitting there in Sydney, you obviously have a full-time job and, you know, kids and things like that, and you're buying in Perth. Take me through the process of like identifying deals and then like doing your due diligence on them without catching a flight. How did you do that process?
Yeah, for me, it was like obviously we start by looking at the data and just seeing where the trends are going, and then from there, like I come up with like a short list of suburbs I that I'm really like interested in.
Mhm.
From there, I then spoke to local property managers in Perth about those suburbs, and they were able to tell me, yeah, this is a good suburb. These are the types of demographics that live there. Those suburbs may be a little bit dodgy. The demographics there, you know, you may have some tenant troubles or you know whatnot. And then I was able to kind of form a picture of what those suburbs would kind of bring in terms of tenant quality. Tenant quality is something that I'm very big on as well. Like I think of myself as a very conservative or risk averse investor. Like I try to choose the more, I guess, what's the right word to do it? More affluent suburbs, if possible, or
Sure.
I guess suburbs where we don't have as many lower socioeconomic people in there
Sure.
that may have issues with rent payments or caring for the property. So that was pretty big in my mind because I've had properties with you know tenant issues, and I just don't want those headaches. So I try to look for those types of suburbs for myself. So so data first, I then verify the types of suburbs with property managers. And then I try to understand, in this suburb, what types of houses are the demographic are looking for. Do they prefer 3-bedders, 4-bedders? Is a car spot or a lock-up garage really important? And then I kind of narrow it down to the types of property that, that would align to the demographic, and then I look for those. I also try to make sure that there's not a lot of vacant land surrounding those suburbs, so that there's no supply risk in the future. And that was a big learning from my first property. It was an apartment, but it was a supply issue that, stunted the growth of that one. So I'm very big on supply risk as well. So those are just a handful of factors that I look at off the top of my head. But obviously, there's a lot more that you take the course and in my checklist that I do go through, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
No problem. No problem. It's a good sort of way. I'm just trying to get a gauge, of how you're going about it, because I think people can try emulate that, whether they want to do the course or not. That point that you made around supply, there's obviously ways to quantify it, but such an easy way is just to go on Google Maps, right? A satellite view, and just see how much land there is around there. Of course, you have to understand the zoning. Just because there's land doesn't mean it's bad, but it's a really good point in the right direction. And you actually bought both of these properties in Perth through trusts. Obviously this is like a legal structure in which to buy real estate. Why, if you don't mind me asking, like, why did you, I don't know if they always bought in trust, like why did you choose to do these two in trusts?
Yeah, it's because we had bought the first 4 in our personal names. And at that point, with the guidance of my mortgage broker, he had advised that I'm getting very close to being maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to grow my portfolio, it would be quite challenging. So I did a lot of research into ways that I could kind of maximize my borrowing power, and the idea of buying in a trust had come up, where you can, buy the property in a trust but still be the guarantor for it.
Mm-hmm.
And with some lenders, they will not count the debt in the trust to your personal name if you want to continue borrowing and building your portfolio. Right. So that, of course, not qualified to give advice on it, of course.
Nor am I.
That was an idea that had come up, and I'd had spoken with my accountant about it. I'd spoken with a lot of mortgage brokers who are very savvy on the topic of buying in trusts and how it helps people build bigger portfolios. And my wife and I made the decision that we would start buying in a trust. And that helped us get from 4 properties or 5 properties to 7 and potentially 8 as well. Otherwise, we would have been maxed out on about 4 or 5.
Right. So you got 7 properties at this stage, and you've been able to get there because the last 2 have been through a trust structure. That's really good. Of course, everyone should seek proper advice through their accountant, etc. But that's a really good tip as well on how to keep going, provided the circumstances are right, even after you've maxed out on your own personal name. Because that's obviously the question. It's like, hey, how's this guy getting 7 properties? It's like, well, there's ways to do it. And it seems to me that you haven't rested on your laurels. Like, you've always been searching for the right professionals, like mortgage broker here, accountant there, to kind of really eke out what's possible. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. And property investors, there's no red carpet for you to just become wealthy. You have to figure it out yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So congratulations on that. And let's say, like, for the future, you said you might be able to borrow for 1 more property. Like, what are your goals in real estate in terms of buying properties for yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so doing your course, we were able to kind of map out what our goals were and how many properties we needed to purchase as investments to achieve our passive income goal. So for us, that number is sitting around 10 investment properties. So for now, my goal is to try and get to those 10 as soon as possible. And then hold them for a period of time as we consolidate the portfolio, and then as the portfolio continues to grow, we'll then sell off a couple to pay off the rest of the portfolio and possibly own about 5 or 6 properties outright and then live off the rent of that. So that is the long-term goal. But then, of course, we do want to find a way to buy our dream home in there somewhere. So maybe we'll get to 10 and then look at buying a principal place and then go from there.
Yeah, that's classic strategy. Of course, that's part of what I teach in the course, but you don't need to do the course to understand that most people get wealthy in Australian real estate by accruing or acquiring assets. The more you have, the better it is, as long as they're good quality. And then just selling off, a few of them when you want to retire debt, because you don't want to retire with debt, and then using the profits after paying tax, of course, to pay off the others. And that's when it's a hockey stick for your passive income. And it's not rocket science, but it just works really well.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of that strategy because I find that it is a safe strategy as well. There's a lot of strategies in real estate. You can flip, you can knock down and rebuild, you can, so many, right? But I just find that as a classic strategy. It's simple, it's easy to understand. It doesn't require a lot of involvement. You can do it as an interstate investor. The most important thing you've got to do is just make sure you buy the right asset in the right area that will give you that growth. And I'm a big fan of that strategy.
Yeah, as am I. I just want to dive into one thing actually before we come close to a close. There's one that you bought north of the river in Perth. I remember you sending me this email, or I think it was over Facebook Messenger or something. You said that you actually beat a buyer's agent. So obviously, this is a really good suburb. There's buyer's agents, kind of hunting around there as well. You beat the other buyer's agent, but not going over the true valuation of the property. So I thought you might be able to give us some tips on how to value a property, because I feel that a lot of people in a hot market, they have this FOMO and they're like, oh my God, it's really hard to get a property. The agent's not calling me back. I need to just pay so much. And not certainly not good buyers agents, but a lot of these national buyers agents, a lot of these big name buyers agents who churn and burn through their clients because they're just making far too much money off the clients. They need to give properties ASAP. The way that they get that done is just they pay more than what it's truly worth. So I'm not saying this is what happened when you beat the other buyer's agent, but how did you truly understand the value of that property and then were successful in securing it?
Well, firstly, I knew kind of what the comparable sales were in that suburb. I knew that within a suburb there are good pockets, there are less than desirable pockets. So this particular property was in, one of the best pockets in the suburb that was high demand. So I knew that properties there were worth a little bit more than the rest. And then at the same time, I did a lot of analysis where I found a lot of comparable sales of similar properties within a very small radius of that street, so in the same pocket. And a lot of them had kind of sold for a lot more than what I paid for. So I was able to establish that, okay, this property is not as good as this one, but it's better than this one. It kind of sits in the middle. And I'd been like, okay, well, therefore my range to, make an offer on this property would be in that range. With my property manager who inspected the property, she told me that a lot of people went to the open home and were interested. So that was able to and she was able to gauge that it was quite competitive, and I could see that as well. So I thought, okay, all right, I don't want to overpay for this, but I also know that it's super, super competitive. And I thought, okay, what can I do? So there were things like I just improved my terms. I was quite confident with my finance, so I had a shorter finance clause. I knew that the sellers were migrating overseas, so they were just keen to, sell the property by a certain time and move out. So I'd gotten that information by, talking to the agent. And I was able to factor those things into my offer to make it as easy for the seller as possible. And and I thought, like, this is my price. I'm not going to overpay for it, but I will put in a strong offer. But to make it even better for the sellers, I'm going to offer these things like, you tell me the exact settlement date you want. That's the date. I'll do it for you.
Mhm.
And I'll make my finance calls a lot shorter just to show you that I'm not going to muck around with that either. And building and pest as well. I was quite confident with the building and pest because my property manager had said that property looks in perfect condition. With the naked eye, she couldn't see anything visible that would cause concerns for building and pest. So I was able to shorten my building pest calls as well, just to let the agent know that I wasn't mucking around.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that he would said, when he told me that I'd beaten another agent, was I was just very responsive. It was between me and that agent, but when
The
he was,
buyer's agent.
the other buyer's agent, when he was calling the other agent, couldn't get a hold of him, and he asking for follow up information. Can you update this info in your contract? It could be, I need the other seller's email address. He just couldn't get a hold of him, but I had my phone close to me, and agent was calling. As soon as I put my offer in, the agent was calling me like every 5 minutes saying, okay, you're buying through a trust. What's your, I don't know, like ACN number that through the company
Right.
trust? And I said, all right, here it is, straight away. So as soon as he called me, I was always giving him the information that he needed. And he just said that the way that I dealt with him was really professional, really efficient, and he really liked doing that deal with me because I made it seamless for him and his sellers. And the funny thing is, since then, I've built a really good relationship with him. And then he started giving me off-market properties for my own clients when I'm buying for them. So
Beautiful.
because
Beautiful.
they just want to do business with people who are efficient and easy to deal with.
Yeah, no, I picked up on a few points. I just want to highlight it's so great of you to share how important the property manager was for you, and not in terms of just inspecting it, but also because this was like the best pocket of that suburb. So you understood that using data, but then you verified that using qualitative on the ground research by the property manager. They're able to get that building and pest inspection done quicker, or tell you to do it quicker because of what the information and insights they gave. So it's just so crucial to have that. And then you were just a nice guy, like a nice professional guy. So anyone who's out there trying to buy properties for themselves, or any buyer's agent watching or listening, and like, I know that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buyer's agents who watch my content. Thank you, weirdly enough. Please do that, because, if you have clients like Eric, then you'll actually get them a property. Please be professional, please be quick, to respond to sales agents, because that's really, sales agents have all the cards, in a hot market. You got to really please them, you got to appease them, but at the same time get what you want. So it's a bit of an art. Anyone can learn it like you did. And I like that you referred to it at the end, because I'm actually really proud of all of the students that actually become buyer's agents, because I know that they're good buyer's agents. They have ethics, because I'm big on ethics in my course. And also they actually know property investing right down to like the minuscule detail, because you've done the course. And I'm just not generally a big fan of these big churn and burn buyer's agents that you hear on podcasts and I don't know, on articles, but I won't rant about that. What was like the process like, or what impelled you to become a buyer's agent? Because you've used them before, Eric. You've done the course, and now you have the knowledge. You've actually applied the knowledge, bought 2 properties by yourself. And then what gave you the confidence, or why were you audacious enough to want to help others do it?
Yeah, to be honest, it's something that I'd been thinking about for a really long time. And it was when I was building my portfolio in the early days of working with my first buyer's agent. I really enjoyed the process that they took me through in educating me on what they look for in a deal. And I started to learn about how they would negotiate deals. And I was really, I guess, taken on that journey of buying my property, only that I didn't do it. They were doing it for me as my buyer's agent. So I learned a lot through that, and I was really inspired. And it goes without saying, I'm very passionate about property, and I started thinking about doing it as well. So yeah, over time, I just learned a lot, and I really wanted to do it. And then when I finally decided that, yeah, I'm going to do it, I took experiences from buyers agents that I'd worked with, and I thought to myself, yeah, I thought to myself, I think I can do this better. And
Mm.
there are other parts that I thought, no, I don't want to do it that way. And when I did your course and I learned a lot, and coming out of it, I felt very empowered and educated. I thought, okay, if I'm going to be a buyer's agent, then I want my clients to feel that level of empowerment and education when they work with me, especially if
Yeah.
they don't have the time to go and search for a property for themselves. Then, if I can do that for them, I want them to come out of it feeling really educated, knowing exactly why we bought in a particular suburb, knowing why we bought a particular house. And then I want them to know exactly like the process that I went through to negotiate that deal for them, so that, if they're at a barbecue and people are asking, oh, why'd you buy there? They know exactly why they did that. And that's kind of the experience that I wanted for my clients. And yeah, it's just because I'm just really passionate about it. And I had people asking me uh, for property advice over the years, and I always was so passionate about giving advice to help them get started with property investing. But I didn't. There was just that one thing that was missing, and that was being able to go out and get the deals for them. But I mean, yeah, after buying those properties for myself, I felt very confident that I knew what I was doing. And since then, I've bought a few for my clients, and I'm really happy about those deals as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, good on you. I'm really proud of it. People often think that I'm against buyer's agents, and I am against most buyer's agents because most buyer's agents are crap. And those of you who are crap, you won't realize you're crap, and you won't appreciate me saying this. But I am really for good boutique, small, high customer care buyer's agents. They actually look at data, not just the dinosaurs or boomers in the industry. And so it's great that I've been able to be a part of your journey as well as many, many others. I think more than 70 or 80 now. And it's a really cool thing to be kind of play a contributing factor in what hopefully becomes like a really successful career
Yeah,
for you.
and if I could just jump in, the point that you made was using data. I had a look at a lot of buyers agents in the industry, and the suburbs that they were buying in, and I noticed that a lot of them weren't using data to choose the suburbs that they were recommending to their clients, and that was something that I thought, oh, geez, if I can do this for my clients, then that's already like I think that already puts me above a lot of them, right? So
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't
yeah,
matter how many years of experience they have. If they're not using data, then all their experience is worth nothing because you can negotiate $10,000 off a deal in a property in a suburb that you shouldn't be buying in the first place. So what's the point of that?
yeah,
So
yeah.
no, you're absolutely right. And last question, Eric, for anyone, sorry, I have to ask this question, but anyone who's on the fence of doing the course, whether they're brand new to investing or have used buyers agents like you, but actually want to build the confidence and skill set to do it themselves, they actually have time. All right. So if you don't have any time, like you don't even have
Yeah.
3 hours a week, please use someone like Eric. Don't go to the big buyers agents that you hear have got great marketing. Go to someone like Eric. But let's assume they have, at least 3 to 5 hours a week over a couple of months to buy a property. They're on the fence of doing the course. Maybe they don't trust themselves like you didn't at one point. What would be your advice to them?
My advice is if you do have the time to do the course, then I do think it's a really good course and you will learn a lot from it. But I always say to people when they ask me about my experience is that yes, you do have to put in the work, but if you do put in the work, then it can be very, very rewarding. And you know what? Like some people are not ready, and if they're not ready to do the course, then my suggestion is to just get educated as much as you can, whether it's watching your content, PK, or other content on the web, and get as educated as possible so that, if you're not going to do the course, at least you know what not to do. But I think, yeah, if they're not sure, if they're sitting on the fence, my suggestion is just, you know, keep watching PK's content, and just build trust. And that's what I did. I was on the fence for quite a long time. I'd followed your content, and I realized that you offered a lot of really valuable free content. And for me, that gave me the confidence that if I did the course, then it would be valuable. But yeah, in my experience, I can say that it was definitely very valuable to do it. And yeah, I've gained a lot of confidence from it.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And yeah, I mean, sometimes education is expensive, but sometimes not having education is even more expensive. So you have to think
Yes,
about that.
yes. I was going to say, yes, I think it's worth it because once you do learn to find your own deals, and once you do feel empowered, then the course pays for itself.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for coming on. I like the sweater there. You've got your branding on point, so that's really cool. I will tag Eric as well in the Facebook group. And so if you want to have a chat with him, this is not like about becoming a client, but he's just a nice guy. You can just chat with him, whether it's about the experience of the course or maybe he will just give you advice anyway. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'm really happy with how your journey's been, and obviously we'll stay in touch.
No worries. Thanks, PK. Have a good one, mate.
Thanks everyone for watching or listening. There's more than 100 of these client interviews now. And like I always say at the end of these episodes, I really don't care if you do the course or not. It's kind of inconsequential to me now. But please go and watch them because they'll serve to educate and inspire you. And that's really what's lacking in this industry, just truth, like just honesty. And so watch them or listen to them. And then please take action with or without me, with or without Eric. Take action. That's what he did in 2020 when the world was falling over. He took action, and that's he's where he is because of that. Thank you. Hit subscribe, hit the like button. I'll see you next time. See you guys.
See you guys.